Good evening, everybody. This is John Marola from Keeping It Real Section 5 Football. We are doing our 15th episode, and we say this all the time. We're just moving right along. We're just moving and moving. First of all, I'd like to introduce my partner on my far right, Section 5 Hall of Famer Paul Brigandy. Paul?
Hello, John. Hello, everyone out there. And we have a very special guest today, the new head football coach at Gates Chi-Li, Andre Fontenette. And congratulations, Coach, on getting that assignment. And I know the guys at McQuaid are going to miss you very much with some of the great program games that you guys had there. But congratulations to you. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I guess we'll start right away. How'd you get started in football as a player? And what age did you start the sport?
Oh, geez. So I started playing when I was about 7 years old, 8 years old maybe at the latest, when I playing for the Chi Lions. That was back when they had Vince Lombardi League and Pop Warner League and all that stuff. And about my second or third year playing, I got the ball one time and I took off right down the middle, and I've been running ever since. And it just became my thing. I was always a good athlete. I was a decent basketball player and happened to just be a great football player, and started playing in high school, and had great examples of what a Division I football player looked like or could look like going to Churchville. See, there was plenty of guys back in the 90s that guys like Tremaine Bendross and David Harvey Bowen and myself, and there was plenty of guys who were the example of what that looked like. So I just wanted to continue and emulate them, and I did.
Well, I know you had a fantastic career at Churchville, and from there, the recruiting process starts as a Division I athlete. And maybe you could elaborate a little bit how that whole recruiting process was for you, where you were thinking, and how you finally decided to go to Syracuse.
Well, that's a good question, Coach. It first started for me watching. I was about a sophomore in high school, and like I said, we had a kid named David Harvey Bowen, who that year he was a senior, and he was the Bigger, Faster, Stronger magazine.
I remember,
player,
right?
Athlete of the year. He could lift the squat, and he could do it all in the weight room. And he was getting recruited by a lot of schools, and one of those schools was Syracuse. And David Walker, who's a Rochester Section 5 guy.
Yep.
And Coach Walker recruited David. He ended up not going to Syracuse, but it was my first time seeing somebody getting recruited, and I found out what the clearinghouse was, and all the things I had to go into registering and getting myself together. So when I was a junior in high school, I got my first recruiter came in, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was Bucknell. And then that was the last time I saw Bucknell because they saw my transcript.
Okay.
And and I started getting letters. I got letters from, I thought I was going to Notre Dame, and then they got my transcript, and then, I had that issue in terms of making sure that my academics were where they needed to be in order to get recruited. Yes. And that didn't happen until the very last second of my senior year. But at the end of my junior year, I ended up getting recruited by Wake Forest, which ended up offering me a full ride during my junior season. And then they just started rolling in from there. Coach Dick started sending out my tape, Paul Dick, and I didn't even know it. I really owe everything in my football career to him, and because I didn't know that he was sending out this he's dubbing all the tapes, splicing the tapes, and next thing I know, Syracuse comes calling, and I went on a couple visits. I visited Syracuse, I visited NC State, I visited University of Buffalo, Boston College, and a couple other places, but I ended up choosing to go to Syracuse, and I'm happy with it because my dad was able to come see me play every game. Even my freshman year, like when I didn't make the travel squad early on in my career, my dad still went to the games. He was still so supportive of me and everything that I've been doing with my career, and on and off the field, really. And so I decided to go to Syracuse to stay close to home so he could have that opportunity to come see us play, and that's how it happened.
Wow, well, that's great, and you've been fantastic, with that. And I wanted to, go back a little bit with the high school football. You mentioned Paul Dick, and I remember, one thing that we always looked at. Churchville always had a great weight strength program. You mentioned Harvey Bowen, right, and that, and how How much were you guys when you were in school? What was the in-season lifting and out-of-season lifting and some of the conditioning programs that you experienced even as a high school player? Were they doing?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Dick was an Olympic lifter, and he made certain lifts the priority, and he set the standard in terms of what an off-season program was for us. And I didn't even totally buy in the way I probably should have when I was in high school, being an immature teenager. I didn't really know, but I saw, especially watching David, what training looked like. But overall, especially my senior year, I really learned the technique of certain lifts. And I learned the importance of how to clean. And I didn't realize how important it was until I got to Syracuse my freshman year, and there were guys that didn't know how to clean at all. The other freshmen, and
right.
I'm helping the coaches coach them on just the tech. Now I wasn't the strongest at it, but my technique was flawless. And even now, like as I'm at Gates and as I've been at McQuaid, that's just something that we've been able to teach the kids, is just the technique of everything. Not so much the great strength of it, but the technique of everything. And I think that started for me back in the late '90s with Paul Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mentioned Paul Dick as as a mentor. Tell me some of the other mentors, role models you had at the high school, collegiate level, both in helping you as a position coach, helping you get into coaching. Who were some of the people that helped you along the way?
Well, first it's got to be Coach Dick. He had the biggest influence on me, as a teenager. Just in terms of, like I said, he helped me get recruited, but just the culture that he was trying to bring in the amount of accountability that he tried to promote throughout the program really helped me understand what was important early on I think I played varsity my sophomore year, and early on I had a great start. First 2 games of the season, I think I had like 12 catches. And,
wow,
a bunch of
great.
I killed it, and then all of a sudden, but I didn't come in with the attitude. I was cocky right off the bat, and Coach Dick sat me literally the rest of the season. Coach Dick was sitting, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on,
right.
And it was really because when my dad went to talk to him, it's because Andre's attitude isn't correct. And I realized how important your attitude will affect your performance and how it affects your teammates and all that kind of stuff. And I learned that early on from Coach Dick. He's a man of faith, as I am. So it was something that was important to me to continue our relationship as I've gotten out of high school over the last 25 years. He's one of my first mentors for sure. I would say also just in coaching, early on, it was I coached at the University of Maine for 2 seasons, and Kevin Burgoyne was the offensive coordinator at Maine now. He coaches in the Canadian Football League now, I think with the I can't even remember. He's in the Canadian League, though, coaching receivers and coaching offense. And he was a mentor that I had at the time because he taught me 2 things really that were really important that I've taken with me in my coaching career, which is, there's more to coaching than just coaching wide receivers. That was my first opportunity to really learn offensive line play. Okay. What pass protections, man side, zone side, all that, those kind of things, learning to expand my game further than just receivers. I learned how to coach tight ends. I could coach running backs. And that came from my time with Kevin at the University of Maine. And also just, he really promoted to the coaching staff, but me being a young coach at the time, really starting my career with me, he really talked about coaching every play, whether it was a good play or a bad play, by a young man. You coach him you coach him every play. You're not quiet during practice. You're let him know you're there. And that was something I got from Kevin that was huge. And I think that was something that I brought to the table at McQuaid. I'm loud during practice. Everyone hears me because I'm coaching receivers and one guy's there and another guy's 40 yards away over there. So I got to be at a far angle and I got to be able to see everything, but also coach everything. So I'm loud and I got that.
I noticed that at your games at McQuaid when we go and watch McQuaid play.
Right.
I see you on the sideline,
directing traffic.
Exactly.
Right.
Taking care of the business.
Directing traffic. And then speaking of McQuaid, Bobby would be my last big mentor. Even though I'm a little bit older than Bobby, he really had experience in the high school game that I didn't have coming to McQuaid. I had coached 10 years of college football before I got to McQuaid. So recognizing now that the high school game is a lot different than the college game on the field, but there's a ton of off the field stuff that I've learned from Bobby, just watching him and taking my own notes and mental notes and just kind of watching how he communicated with everybody, how transparent he was with the kids and the families and the parents. And whenever we had any adverse situations, Bobby just, never was too high or too low. He was very even keeled. And, I think that my want to become a head coach came from my time at McQuaid, because I like we had talked about earlier, I didn't plan on becoming a high school coach permanently. Before, when I first got to McQuaid, I was thinking it was going to be a year or two thing. But then life happens, and I stayed at McQuaid, and I've been there almost 10 years. And Bobby helped me gain that want to become a head coach, because I learned from him how to do things the right way.
That was interesting, because when we were talking earlier in the back, that when you mentioned you came to McQuaid and you were thinking maybe a couple of years,
Right.
and you'd be back going in college, but all of a sudden it happened. It happened.
Yeah.
And it to you was that family type of thing with McQuaid and the coaches, the players, the whole
Absolutely.
system and everything.
Absolutely. I mean, I got to McQuaid unexpectedly at a time back in 2013, I believe. And it was at a time when I was first coming back to Rochester, and I was thinking, I'm going to, come to Rochester for a year or two, go back to coaching college football.
Yeah.
I had just gotten done with a Division I coaching career. Not, it was only 10 years long at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to go back to that. And then next thing I know, I'm at McQuaid, and things are going really well. And the first 2 or 3 years was difficult, but we were establishing standards and building new things. And that's what happened. And then 3 years down the road, boom, we start competing for the sectional championship. Then we got there, and we've been there ever since.
And I just heard that word again. And the first time I really heard it was when Bobby was here a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about they don't have rules, standards.
Right.
And I really grasped that. I really, that's something special, And we were saying rules are meant to be broken. The standard is a standard. This is where we're set. This is what we're doing.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, I think that, it's a great word, because, it does give kids some leeway in terms of recognizing that we're dealing with minors, we're dealing with high school kids. They are going to mess up. There are going to be some issues here and there. But really, how do we as coaches react to it, and how do we show leadership? Well, what Bobby promoted was leadership from within, from the kids.
Yes.
And they did a good job of really setting their standards of what they were willing to accept and what they weren't from their teammates. And we just kind of hopped on along that and went with it. And then next thing you know, it became the standard that we were willing to accept as a coaching staff on the off season and everything that the kids are doing on and off the field. And that's another thing that I took from my time at McQuaid. No rules. We're going to set standards, and we're going to try and live to them.
I really got a hold of that really well, because you never really heard it. You heard rules, everything.
Right.
Paul,
if you do this, then we're going to do that.
Yeah,
we're going to, every situation happen. I mean, we're dealing with minors. Like, all kinds of things are, could potentially happen. So, you got to be ready for your if and thens, but at the same time, handle each case on an individual manner, but also a fair manner that is best for everybody.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
Before we get into the whole Gates Chili coaching, I'd like you to go back a little bit and how did you decide to get into coaching, and then where you went and learned. You're talking about some of the things you learned at McQuaid, but all the different places you've been, and you learned something at each of those that helps develop you as the coach you will be today. Yeah. And I guess, how did the coaching part start for you?
Well, for me, it started it started when back in 2005, when I first got done playing, and I ended up going to Tampa, Florida with a friend who I moved down there because, he was down there like, I'm just going to go, I don't have anything to do. I'm 23 years old with no responsibility at the time. And that lasted almost a year. And I was like, oh man, I ain't got like $150 in my account. Like, what am I going to do? And I ended up calling my receivers coach in college, which was Dennis Goldman, who has since retired. He was coaching receivers at Princeton for the last couple of years, but he's now retired. Also another mentor of mine. But I called him up, and he suggested that I look on footballscoop.com, which I'm sure you guys have heard of Football Scoop.
Yep.
And he's like, there's always jobs posted. And I said, okay, well, I'll look. I looked, and there was a job posted at Wagner College,
Okay.
which at the time the defensive coordinator at Wagner was Dan Conley, which is obviously
Syracuse linebacker.
Yeah.
all-time legend at
Mhm.
Syracuse linebacker. I went to Syracuse, so I called Dan up, introduced myself, and he said, "You don't have any experience, so we can't take you in anything. But if you get some experience, come see me." I said, "Okay." And like a week later, I'm in Tampa, Florida, and SUNY Brockport, Rocco Salamone, posted a graduate assistant position. I said, "You know what? I'm out of here." I called up Rocco. I called Jason Mangoni,
Mm-hmm.
and I took that GA position, coaching the receivers, and I was there for a year. And I moved back to Rochester to take that position. And then a year later, footballscoop.com,
Yep.
Wagner College posted another opening, the same
Oh,
thing.
really?
The guy, whoever took that job, left. And I called Dan Conley again. And I said, "Dan, I got a year under my belt now." And, so I went out to New York City, and I started coaching receivers I was a graduate assistant, but I never actually took any graduate classes, unfortunately. I could have, but I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
irresponsibly. And I coached there for 2 seasons at Wagner. And after I left Wagner, we're getting ready to play Bryant College. I'm coaching in New York City. And we're playing against Bryant. And about 2 weeks before the season starts, I'm online. I kind of search people's biographies, kind of just curious where they've been or whatever. And I'm looking at, I happen to come across the University of Maine. Well, Frank Joffrey, who also played center at Syracuse in the late 90s,
Yep.
Was coaching up
he's
there.
he's a CBA guy.
Yep.
Frank was coaching offensive line at University of Maine. So I called up Frank and I said, I noticed on the website you guys don't have a receiver coach. For me to look at his biography, what's up? And he's like, "We're actually looking. You interested?" And I'm, yeah. I said, I'm interested. So I went from getting ready to play against Bryant, the first game of the season at Wagner, to 3 weeks later we're playing against Iowa in the first game for 75,000 people. And that was back in the day where a double A team would go against against a Class A, or not Class A, a Division I team,
Yes.
as opposed to double A team. So it was quite a step up from getting ready from Bryant at the 1AA level to now Iowa. We lost, but we played really well. And my time at Maine was great because although I got there just before the season started, I had the opportunity to really learn from the kids that first year, because I didn't know the playbook really. I learned it on the fly because I got there just before camp started. So I just learned a ton of technique and things at that level that I didn't know, because I was still a rookie in my coaching career. I was 2 years in, and then that's when I felt like I kind of learned a lot about the game at that time. But at the same time, I was considered a part-time coach. I was only making like $12,000, and only getting paid half the year. And so I had the opportunity. I came across the job opening at Campbell University, which is in Bowie's Creek, North Carolina, which is about half hour south of downtown Raleigh.
Okay.
So it's in the country. It's like just north of Fayetteville, 45 minutes, half hour south of Raleigh. And it's a small Christian school. And they had a job opening. And I called their quarterback coach up. And really it was about relationships, and what can I say to this guy for me to stand out amongst other people. And what I did was I said, his name was Landon. I said, "Landon, you don't know me, but we've played against each other before." And he said, "Oh, did we?" I said, "Yeah, when I was a senior in 2004, we went to North Carolina and played against you. We ended up beating you guys in triple overtime." He said, "Oh, I was the backup quarterback in that game." And we got to talking, and we got to rapping, and that's how it happened. Yeah, and I ended up building that connection with him. 2 weeks later, I was the receivers coach at Campbell University. So I went to Campbell, and I stayed there for 3 years. Came back to Rochester, thought my coaching career might be over. I didn't know what I was going to do. Am I going to go back to college? What's going to happen? And boom, ran into Dan Bates. Here I am. Yep.
Well, how did
that's a long story.
That's
it. I'm sorry.
That's
how it happens. I've been in a lot of different places, which happens when you coach at that college level. That's what happens. You got to be prepared to pick up and go.
You know what it does? It in my eyes, it shows me experience that you've had, that now that we said earlier, your name's on the side of the truck now.
Yeah.
You are the man over at Gates. You can give that knowledge to your players and let them see, hey, you were from Rochester. You went on to Syracuse. You coached around the United States a little
Right.
bit. You know what I mean? That you open the doors up for young men.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's so that would sell me as you being a coach is that outside stuff. I didn't even know it. I started looking you up on YouTube before you got here this morning, and just finding out all that stuff. But I'm like, that's really great stuff that you can give these young kids these days.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it garners a little bit of respect just because when you're able to give a point to a kid, it's like, well, I've done that. I'm not going to tell you to do something I haven't at least tried to do myself or can do myself or used to do myself.
Yes.
And the other thing is that you're speaking about what you did as a player, but then I also did it as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like I've recruited kids before. I was a Division I athlete, but I've also seen Division I athletes and help evaluate those guys and with a staff and figure out things that we like about kids and that we don't like about kids. And that's something that definitely I want to bring to my time at Gates. It's important for me to. Another thing I learned from Bobby is, it's important for me for the kids to recognize that it's not about me, it's about the kids.
Yeah.
And those are things that with my experience that I want to be able to bring to the table at McQuaid, or excuse me, at Gates, and just bring that world of consistency for them and relatability.
That's awesome.
Andre, maybe you can give a little feedback to the listeners. So you want to be a head coach. Now you have to go through the interview process at the particular school.
Yeah.
And how was that for you? What did sometimes there's committees, the application process, right. You're waiting, and how did that all come apart?
Well, for me, I went a little bit of a different path just because I had interviewed for a head coaching job before. Before I even coached at McQuaid, I interviewed at Churchville for the head job.
Mm-hmm.
When I didn't get that job, that was my first time interviewing for a head coaching position. And come to find out, I was not prepared the way I thought I was.
Really?
I kind of winged it and
Mm-hmm.
didn't really, not that I didn't take it serious. I just didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and I probably thought like I'm a Division I coach. Like, of course I'm going to get this job. So I didn't really prepare for the position like I thought I was gonna, or like I thought I should have.
Mm-hmm.
And then at my time at McQuaid, like I said, I learned and watched and all that kind of stuff, what's going on in the high school game. But for me, 2 years ago, I interviewed for the head job at Aquinas,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get it, and Mo got it, and which was great. Mo's my guy. We're brothers in orange.
Yep.
And but even before I interviewed for that job, I already knew Jason Benham was going to retire,
Mm-hmm.
and Gates is somewhere that I want to be. And even before Aquinas even came into the picture, and I applied for the Aquinas job just because, hey, it's there. Like, why not apply for it? Literally, as soon as I got the call that I didn't get the job from Aquinas, I went into the office the next day and I started going through my whole entire application process and switching everything from Aquinas to Gates. And I'm like, I know this job's going to come open. It's going to take a year to get prepared for this job, make sure my interview is correct and all my information is done. And that's what I did. I spent a year preparing for the job. And then when I interviewed, and unfortunately it wasn't until March until
was it later.
Really?
It was a later.
Yeah, I should say I interviewed the first week of March, and then within a week or two, they called me up and told me I got the job. But at the interview, it was athletic director, I think vice principal, a couple of the kids. There's 4 or 5 people in that interview, and just shooting questions at me, talking football, talking life, talking.
Mm-hmm.
Standards, talking all that kind of stuff that we're trying to establish if I were to get the job. And it was supposed to be an hour and a half. We ended up talking for like 2.5 hours or so. We were definitely a good hour over what we thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I left there feeling really good about it. And I texted with the kids and told them thank you for having me. And a week or so later, I got the job and been flying ever since. Time's gone by very quickly.
You get the job, so they give you the call. You get the job. Now you put together your coaching staff, and I guess were you able to bring aboard a couple of guys that you want, and what type of guys were you looking for to be part of this coaching staff?
That's definitely a difference that I'm learning with high school football and when you're coaching in a public school versus a private school. At McQuaid we have 8, 9.
Right on your staff, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, you got to see our
Yeah,
sideline.
you
There's a
gotta
bunch
be
of people on the
right,
sideline,
right.
right? But those are all paid positions. You know, you don't get that at the public school level. You know what I mean? So you got 5 coaches to work with, you and 4 other guys. So you got to make it work. Also, at that in the public school, you're coaching with people. Not that I don't want to be with the guys, but they kind of tell you like these are the guys that are at the school working here, whether it's a math teacher or a gym teacher or whatever the case may
And
be.
that's a
So,
lot of it is union, you know, because
but as I've met them and gotten to know them over the last couple of months, I'm definitely happy to be with them because they definitely brought some things to the table, like we talked about earlier. So the staff has been pretty much filled out. I'm in the process of figuring out the defensive coordinator position, but we brought on Jaquise Webb, who had been at Gates in the past at the JV level. We moved him up to varsity, and he's another guy that has that Division I pedigree. You know, he played at Rutgers, played at University of Buffalo, which is also something that I wanted to bring to the table because that's what we did at McQuaid. If you look at the McQuaid staff, almost every single one of those guys was either a Division I player or a high school head coach. You know, and you know, for the most part.
Yeah,
and it's all we had a lot of experience in coaching, but also we had that continuity of finding people that wanted to be there for the long haul.
Yeah.
You know, so we'd all been together at McQuaid for 9 years. So that's what I'm kind of trying to build at Gates. So Jaquise also being Gates alum was also huge. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I want to bring in as many alums like him as possible. I was going to call Clint Hurd up and see if he wanted to be our defensive coordinator, but he's busy, you know. So I'm in the process of figuring that out.
He outpriced you a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. The budget couldn't fit Clint.
Right. So you get the job. You start to put together your staff. Now you're going to have your first team meeting.
Yeah.
Tell me about the first team meeting when you address the team and you know, some of the things that you thought were important to communicate with the team.
Well, again, it was about, you know, preparation really for me. I was very confident in myself that I was going to get the job. So, but again, I didn't interview until March. So from really January till March, I'm started preparing myself as if I already had the job, you know, getting things down. So I didn't have to scramble at the last second if I were to get the job. So I was, you know, preparing myself. So when I had that first team meeting, it was simple as, you know, here's a PowerPoint presentation that I got for you guys, talk about myself, you know, get to know you guys just a little bit, but also start setting those standards that you know, we want to go from day one, really. And, you know, one of the themes that I wanted to come up with, you know, at McQuaid, one of them was family, which is forget about me, I love you. One of them was one. You guys see the one on the side of the helmet. That was obligated, nasty, elite. Those are all themes that I learned to live by at McQuaid. Well, we had to do some of the same stuff at Gates. So our theme is pride. You know, if you drive past Gates Child High School, it says GC Pride on the side. Well, what does pride mean? Pride means to us, at least, and to me, having a personal responsibility and daily effort. That's the acronym for it.
That's great.
Again, that's personal responsibility and daily effort. So that was something that I talked about. And that's personal daily effort, personal responsibility and daily effort, meaning in everything that we do, on and off the field, we're trying to do the right thing. And that's the thing that I was trying to promote from day one in that first team meeting.
Oh, very important. Those are all great.
And you're talking, you know, it's got to go along the line of it's the process.
Yeah.
Everybody comes with the word process. Well, process is that you're saying on and off the field.
Right.
It's all a part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's very important too, that young kids should get these days because that's only going to help you in the long run.
Yeah.
You know,
It's going to help you. And also it's just like, you know, it's not going to happen on day one. You know, we're not going to go undefeated. We're probably not going to win sectionals this year. You know what I mean? But it took us 3 or 4 years at McQuaid before, you know, before we really established ourselves. And I'm hoping that happens even quicker at Gates. But, you know, I understand that it's a process. And I want the kids to understand that at the same time. They need to understand that we got to get going. You know, and we are trying to win games. And we're here to fight for everything that we're going to get. So,
and speaking about, you know, getting going and bringing your culture to the program, what things are you doing right now in the off season to get yourselves ready?
Well, that's one of the hardest things about coaching high school ball is, you know, just making sure you have the participation from the kids, especially when you're fighting against 3-sport athletes. You know, plenty of kids playing spring sports, whether it's baseball, lacrosse, running track, all that kind of stuff. So, but we've actually had pretty good numbers, and we're lifting 3 days a week right now. We're lifting Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And then if a kid shows up on a Tuesday or Thursday, we have a great strength and conditioning coach from the elite gym.
Okay.
Okay. He's done a phenomenal job, Kyle Walsh, with the kids over the past 2 months. And so if the kid shows up on a Tuesday or Thursday, the non-workout days, Kyle has a speed workout for him, all set up, ready to go. So, we've had in between 15 and 20 kids for the most part, but now over the past week or so, we've gotten in between 20 to 25 kids just because spring sports are starting
to wind down,
and all that kind of stuff. So kids are lifting. We're doing install periods with them in terms of teaching them the playbook because there's a lot to go over. But at the same time, trying to keep it simple for them because I don't want to make it too difficult. But at the same time, giving them that mental edge of knowing at least what to do and why on the field.
Well, the last question I wanted to ask you is, if you didn't get into coaching, was there another interest, another field that you dabbled with and thought about at times of your life?
No, not really. I mean, I started coaching at 23. I'm 42 now, so I'm almost 20 years in. And I haven't really thought about doing anything else with my life. But I mean, I've worked other places. My full-time job, high school ball, you're not getting paid, enough to feed the whole family for a year. So it's like you gotta work full time. So I've worked at Industry Residential Center at the juvenile facility for 10 years. Now I work at the public defender's office. So I do what I have to do to feed the family. But at the end of the day, before I lay my head to sleep every night, that football spins in my head a little bit. So that's where my mind goes.
It's in the blood.
Yeah. And by the way, before I feel like you're going to wrap up in a second.
No.
I wanted to say this is great that you guys are doing this for Section 5.
Thank
There's
you.
not a lot. I mean, especially football specific, stuff going on, and you guys are two OGs in the game, and I'm not going to hold the Aquinas thing against you. I won't hold it against you. But thank you guys for doing this. This is huge. This is huge. I hope I get a chance to come back.
We want to get the message and the communication out to the listeners, so that really love and enjoy football in Section 5.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the timing of this came out really good for us as far as us doing things. And then when we were thinking about people to have, you just got hired. This is a great opportunity because, like we were saying before in the back, I said one of the questions I'm going to ask you now is, how does it feel like with your name on the side of the bus? You've always been an assistant.
Right.
Now it's you. I mean, that gives you a whole different, I got basically oversee everything.
Yeah.
And having confidence in your assistant coaches is just humongous.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you're going to find out.
Right.
Having those guys around you.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, so far, getting with the guys I'm with, I'm still in the process of hiring one more coach, which I think I got my guy, which I'm not going to get into it yet, but okay. I'm in the process of that. But yeah, the other guys have really pushed me in a good direction, helping me out in terms of giving suggestions. And what I've learned is that I have to be able to take suggestions from those other guys. I don't know it all, and it's important to also know what you don't know. So, they've done a good job of communicating with me and helping me learn things that they've already done at Gates, and then kind of put my own twist on it. Right. But in terms of how it feels, it feels great, man. Just because I don't feel like it's I'm gonna stop doing it anytime soon. So I feel like I'm just getting to the top of the hill, and it feels really good just because it's something that I've prepared for. Like I said, I've been coaching 19 years now, and always as an assistant. This is something I prepared for, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. But I had a great blueprint in terms of learning how to do things the right way at the high school level at McQuaid with Bobby and also the other guys on the staff, and that was huge. Like, Bobby delegates. Bobby taught us how to, Bobby wants to communicate the right way. It was like, we're just, all of us were all on the same page, and that's what I've really learned. And so I'm confident in myself that I can bring that stuff to the table just because I've had a great blueprint over the last couple of years.
I think just because of the trail that you've set, being at Gates Child or at Churchville Child, going through that, that was a good program. When you were there, it was a very good program. Going to Syracuse, being a Division I athlete.
Most people don't know how many Division I athletes came from Churchville back especially in the 90s. Like, We're talking about knowing your history earlier. Well, besides myself,
Yep.
you have David Harvey Bowen, you have Tremaine Bendross. He went to
about
Army,
Yep.
or excuse me, Air Force and played.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Collier brothers.
Right.
You know, you had the. They also have a young man right now, Max Tomaszewski, who's probably going to be a Division I defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not too many schools that have 7 or 8 guys that have played, Division I football in Section 5.
Great
Churchill is certainly one of them.
great
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And then your years at Syracuse, which a lot of people around here know, being, the closest Division I school to us, having a career there, and then your college coaching now coming into. I mean, you offer so much to these guys. I mean, I just think it's just a win-win.
Thank you.
For Gates.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And honestly, it's just I'm going to be out at least one of your games this year.
We're making out there.
That's awesome about Gates, because Gates has an amazing facility.
Yes.
And probably one of the top 2 or 3 fields and areas in Section 5. So if you definitely get a chance to come up, I don't know what the schedule is going to be because I hear it's changing here and there, but definitely come up for a game, and we'll put you in the press box, Coach.
I don't need that. I just need to watch a coach. That's all. I enjoy watching coaches coach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Like I said, when you were at McQuaid, watching you on the sideline, directing your guys and all that, I just think it's just going to be some exciting times coming soon at Gates Chi-Li.
We wish you the best of luck. We will be following Gates Chi-Li football.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
All right.
Thank you.
A couple things I want to go through right this where the old man comes out.
I'm wearing contacts, so I can't see either.
First things first, I got to tell everybody, please subscribe. I was going to say that in the beginning. Please subscribe to our channel. It's starting to grow. It's starting to move a little bit. People are aware of it. So please just hit the subscribe, the like, and if you have any comments, please throw in some comments. Again, we'll say our front desk here, our table. I'd like to thank again Coach Lanning for bringing in the little brown jug when we had rivals, and I'd like to say thank you for that. The football cleats, you don't know about this one. I have a student up at school, and his name is Alex, and Alex watches every episode, and he watches it over and over.
What up,
again.
Alex? My guy.
And anyways, he came up and gave me these cleats one day up at school. He's like, "Here." I go, "What are these for?" He goes, "I've retired from football."
So we got
time to hang them up. Literally.
Yes, we got him. Yeah, we got him.
So I said to him, "There's only one spot I got to
Right,
So
Alex, 10.5, so I need some 10.5 for the team.
So that's from Alex. The 2 hats in the middle, or a couple weeks ago, we had Kyle Fenn here from Right Out.
Yeah.
And Kyle was going over the new equipment, especially the helmets.
Some of the latest things coming out.
The technology in the helmets is just unbelievable.
It's all about safety now, for sure.
Oh, yes. So anyways, I'd like to thank all those guys for that. I just want to go through our sponsors real quick. We were talking a little bit earlier about it. Our first sponsor is G Athletics, and that would be Coach Giordano.
That's right.
And he runs a lot of camps in the off season, year round, basically.
Yeah, he does. And I can't remember the date. It's in August, but
I think it's the 5th.
Okay, August 5th. Yeah, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. But either way, it's he runs a great team camp that a lot of teams in Section 5 participate in. We're going to participate in this year, so definitely, Coach.
We will be there. We will be talking to you there too.
Yeah, definitely need to sign up and get as many interviews as possible, because Coach G is going to have a bunch of kids there and a bunch of coaches.
Those 3 nights at Olympia, we're going to do 4 teams a night. We're going to get the head coaches, so we're going to get you for about 5 minutes. Just talk about the upcoming season. Should be set by then,
right?
Hopefully,
yeah, right.
And I like to talk to a couple of your players. You just throw over a couple and just ask them some things about football. Just try to give Gates Chi-Li a little bit of a little boost. And
Thank
just
you. We need all the help we can get.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So we're going to do 4 teams a night at Olympia. So there's 12 teams there, and then we're going to get the episodes out. After that, our second sponsor would be, during the season, we were talking a little bit about this. We're going to be up at Premier Sports in Research Mall, Joe Muno's place, and we are going to be there on Wednesdays. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the games that were just played the week before, the upcoming games of the week, what games, the big games. And I'm going to get an email. I'm going to get yours and all that. Coaches are going to send in a player of the week.
Right.
And then not Paul and I, we have some other guys, Coach Lemline. I think he's going to be involved in that.
Of course he is. Of course he is. He can't. He tries to walk away, but
he ain't
never walking away.
No,
That's my guy. Yeah.
I got him lined up. He's coming down to Massillon with me a couple times this year to go watch some football. So.
Great.
But we're going to give out a Player of the Week award.
Awesome.
So, and with that, along with that, another one of our sponsors is Howie up at Sticky Lips. And we're going to give a gift certificate to the young man over at Sticky Lips so he can go out and have dinner with his family or his girlfriend or whoever.
Right.
Give him a little bit of a reward for that. After that, we have one of Paul's ex-players is my supervisor up at school. His name's Ronnie Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronnie runs a private security company. It's called Under the Radar. It's him and another guy in the city, Diego. They run a private security company in the city. So anybody out there, all these credits will be at the end of our sponsors with the phone numbers attached to it. So if you're looking for anything like that, please give Ronnie a call. He's definitely the guy to talk to about that.
If you're a coach and you're dealing with crazy parents, call him up. He'll give you security to get out.
I go one little. The college games, they had the coaches on the sideline.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Ronnie. I go, we should get you at a game, like in some type of official look, and then just stand next to the head coach on the sideline, for the games. Like
they would have the state troopers from
the state troopers back with the big hats and all that.
You never know when someone's
escorting.
We might have them on your sideline.
You never know.
So, anyways, Ronnie runs Under the Radar and does a great job. Another one of our sponsors is Rochester Jewelry and Tech.
Oh.
That is my niece Brooklyn. Her husband Toga runs a pawn shop. It's across the street from the Wegmans on Mount Reed in that plaza over there. He said if you go in, mention our station, mention our broadcast, they'll hook you up with all kinds of stuff over there. Another one is...
Man, Coach.
We're picking up sponsors.
That's good. We're going to have a whole running. Go ahead, man.
And I have a full-time job.
Man, that's awesome. All right, who's next?
All right, next is, my brother Dan.
Okay.
He runs, it's called Making a Splash. They repair pool liners in the summertime.
Oh.
So he's told me, tell anybody that mentions the show to him, he'll cut off $100 on pool liners. So that's what we got going on right now. And like I said, this is going to be the second episode. This is coming out. We don't do these live. This will be out July 10th. And starting last week with George with the camps, and now this week, we're going to be doing it once a week. So if you tune
Picking
in.
up steam.
Yep. It's getting closer to football.
The season now.
We're starting. Yes. So we have Andre here today. So your episode will be on July 10th, which everybody will see then.
Cool.
And then after that, the episode next week is big. I mean, we're talking a new head coach who just started.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next week, we have two of the all-time winningest coaches in Section 5. We have Gene Mason, coming in, and Dave Wickham coming in from Mid-Lakes. And I'm not sure right now what it is. I talked to Dave a little bit. I don't know who's in the lead.
They're 1 and 2 with the
Are they going to be able to interview at the same time and coexist?
Yes.
Looking for that last win,
Yeah. Because Gene is retired, but Dave's still coaching.
Active. Yep.
So just to go through they've been in this game coaching over 30 years.
It's tremendous careers.
Yeah, both of them have, I'd say, close to 235 wins each. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of football right there.
Well, one of these episodes I want to host because I want to interview you guys because you guys also had great coaching careers and people need to, hear that story as well. So maybe we'll flip the script one of these days.
Yeah. I mean, you're a great speaker, so that could happen. That'd be
That's a,
interesting.
that's,
Flip
that's a
the
Syracuse
script.
University
We'll-
education.
Maybe in the off season. In the off season, we'll
We'll
just
flip
flip it
the
around.
script.
I got you.
That's cool. That's
Flip
very
the script
cool.
Mondays.
So, anyways, that's all we have right now. Just keep tuning in. Like I said, we're going to be doing this once a week now, up until the West Side Camp at Greece Olympia, and then after that, I'm not sure. We may take a week off because the opening game, where Paul and I are going to be up at Irondequoit,
Mhm.
and Irondequoit is playing Eastridge.
And that schedule may change
Yeah,
too.
so
everything
that's why
is, we don't,
I'm not real positive.
You might be at the Gates
We
game.
might be
Yeah,
at the Gates,
you know, if we're
Maybe
welcome.
Yeah, of course.
I
I
gotta-
like I told you, you're in the press box. You're up there. You and my
No,
dad.
I have-
in the
I have
press
a
box,
tent.
and my wife, of course.
I have a tent now. We
I
brought
saw that with the
Yeah.
logo and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's dope.
Right?
That's dope.
That's
Yeah.
where we'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I'm gonna come up.
I like to be down on the field and just, you know,
Yeah, get that angle.
what we're gonna do is do like a half hour pregame, a halftime little session with the coach, you know, hey coach and all and then after the game, a
This game.
post game
Right.
and a couple players.
Of course.
You know,
You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
awesome.
just try to make it like that. Putting this together, those were one of the things I really wanted to try to do is do it live, and that's what we're going to do at Irondequoit. The first week of practice, we're going to be there and we're going to go live
Nice.
and just kind of make it like a test run dash because, like I said, I've never done any of this before.
I have one more, just a communication of the New York State High School Football Coaches Association. They will have their 7-on-7 tournament. It's going to be at Cortland State. It's going to be July 12th and 13th. You can go on the New York State High School Football Coaches Association for information. And they also will have a lineman challenge on those dates. But it'll be in
nice.
Cortland. And if you remember last year, East High won
East
the
won,
7-on-7,
Yep.
and UPrep won the lineman challenge.
Yeah.
There. So
Not surprised.
and
Coleman and Youp, I got it right.
and the other thing that I think is interesting coming out of the New York State High School Football Coaches Association next year, the clinic that they have every year at Turning Stone, that'll be their 25th anniversary of that, and they are bringing back, Andre, to and you would recognize this. They're bringing back all the old Syracuse head coaches. Like Paul Pasqualoni is going to be there, you know, and some of the past head coaches, and just because of just the years where they were very involved with it, and they want to really build this up. I guess last year they had, I think it was 738 coaches that went to the clinic at Turning Stone.
Wow.
They're trying to break 1,000 for the
Okay.
25th year anniversary.
And I think with that lineup
They'll bring a lot, and I'm not sure. Is Coach McPherson still? Is he alive? Coach McPherson.
No,
He
unfortunately.
passed.
Yeah.
He passed.
Yeah.
But some of the past coaches,
That was my guy, though.
yeah,
Oh, he's
Mac,
practice.
yeah,
He was just the extreme motivator, Coach Mac.
Well,
Man.
he
He'd
did.
come the weekend. Oh man,
he really got Syracuse back.
I get chills thinking
just a
about Coach
motivate-
Mac.
yeah,
it was.
Coach Mac.
That's awesome.
Oh, the last. Make
Oh,
sure you tell them about the photo montage at the end of.
This is another thing when you email me back. You email me back some pictures, some photos. If you have anything at Gates recently,
Okay.
send and your Syracuse stuff, Churchville stuff.
Okay.
Just send me, and at the end of this, still keep on watching. After our credits, I put together a little picture segment, and I probably are up to about 25, 30 pictures.
Wow.
You know, and
I gotta get busy.
It's all Section 5, some of the history, some of the games, some of the people.
yeah,
That's
just
awesome.
showing Section 5.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, just letting people get it out and, you know, let people recognize, you know, Section 5 football a little bit.
All right. Well, again, thank you for what you
Oh,
guys are doing
thank
for
you.
Section 5. This
Thank
is
you.
huge, and it's special, and I hope it continues for a long time. And part of promoting Section 5 football is obviously going through you guys. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
huge.
you
Thank
know,
you.
it's just something that, like I said, when Paul and I were doing, actually, this came out, we were on our way down to Massillon, Ohio. There was myself, Paul, George Giordano, and a couple other people, Sammy Casarino, Bobby. And we were talking, and we were talking about Section 5 football. Like we all talk football. So, anyways, we were like, it just seems like there's nothing going on. So let's start a podcast. And like I've said this before, I was driving and I looked in my rearview mirror and I looked in the back and I seen George sitting in the back and he rolled his eyes.
And George's old school, man.
And I said to him now after, I said, thank you for doing that to me, because that really motivated me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't take it as like a slap or what. You know what? I took it as like, okay, there it is. It's out on the table. Let's do it.
Right. And part of it is the production side of it, which you're handling also yourself, which is difficult, but you're doing it. You're learning it. You're doing it. I couldn't do it right now. The only thing I can do is hook up a PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like, this is impressive.
What I've done so far with this a little bit is I've been up to I had John DeTulio on the first episode, and I was up a day. I spent a day with him up there and just learning stuff, and just, he gives you, it's like going to a coach's clinic. You listen to a lot and you take little things out of there, and that helped me with this.
That's right.
And then I had Thad Brown on a couple weeks after that.
Syracuse guy.
Yes, Syracuse. And he is going to have me up at Channel 8 in a couple weeks. So I'm going to spend the day up there with him, just looking around, but that's how you learn, you know what I'm saying? Right. And like I said, if we didn't care about section, we wouldn't be doing this right now.
Reach out, why not?
So are we good?
We're good.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. At the end of our thing, what we do now is we'll look at each other and say, are you good? And I'm good. So we all fist bump.
Okay,
word.
Okay. And then I'll turn and go 1, 2, 3, and then we all turn and we say, keep it real, Section 5 football. Okay. Ready? Okay. You good?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay.
Nice job,
Good.
guys.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
I forgot. I'm sorry. You gotta edit it. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you say? Keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
Section 5 football.
Okay.
Ready? We'll do it again. Just so I can jump out.
Keeping it real. Section 5 football.
All right. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then we'll just point. 1, 2, 3.
Keeping it real. Section 5 football.
Good night. Have a great night.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well,
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap. I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks. Listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast. Don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.